most of you see, there are many legislators in this house who are very specified in certain areas. There are engineers here who really help in roads, water, reservation, and things like that. There are financial experts here who will probably advise a country better and will not have gone into this, very expensive cost of living and making Kenyans feel, very aggrieved if such had been shared in this, probably the president and the government, because the moment we address the president, we are also addressing his minister for finance and others. Then the government is set in the right mood and the right motion as it is required under Article 10. And then the national values, finally, Mr. Speaker, are so important that that's what all we should follow. The fight against corruption. I'm sure you get very good proposals. The budgeting process, the budgets, what needs to be allocated to where. And the worst of it, Mr. Speaker, is that corruption is what messes up completely the economy of this country. We budget for corruption. We budget, a few people take that money to their pockets, the rest suffer. And worst of it is if you overtax the middle class, then you have killed the hustlers, because the middle class is the one which supports the hustlers. At the moment you mistreat the middle class, it's a sure way of exiting from government. I thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Tabitha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I do rise to support this motion by my brother, the majority whip. And I say that Article 1(2) is very clear, which talks about representation of the people by the elected leaders. As leaders, the presidential address feedback gives us an opportunity to be able to have the reality feel of the discussions in terms of what the president has been able to share and put across according to the manifesto that was done during the election time. It is very important, Mr. Speaker, because then it gives members or leaders in both houses an opportunity to be able to address facts in a more diplomatic and in a more leadership style, unlike what we've seen previously that has been happening. This is the best platforms that Kenyans should know. Then there is room for a national level executive discussion that comes from a presidential level to the members who are elected, so that there is mutual understanding and also there is a level of getting to the bottom of the facts. I just had my brother Senator from Makwiny, Senator Manzo, talking about looking at budgets, but what makes it funny is that when he talks about budgeting for corruption, and then I wonder from the side that we come from, of course representing the government, does the opposition look at working through budgeting on corruption? Because when an elected senator talks about budgets on corruption, it leaves a lot to be desired, because then you wonder from which perspective then he looks at things. He's entitled to his opinion, but as an elected leader, a lot is left questionable, you know. We have had different executives also who represent the government, especially from the ministerial point, having platforms to appear in this parliament. But they also answer to the president. So it is in that platform during these addresses that members can also be able to escalate further issues and be able to have proper discussions as far as when the president is in the house. The best formula, in my opinion, would be within those 3 days of the presidential discussion, a day should be set where the president appears in the National Assembly and has a day with the members of the National Assembly. And a day that is set that the president also is in Senate and has a platform with all the senators. Because all the 67 senators represent the Republic of Kenya, despite the political side that we come from. but the agenda and the constitution that we uphold is a constitution for this country. It's not a constitution for Dr. William Ruto. It's a constitution for this country. And the best results that we give to our generations and the generations to come is to be able to have facts that can also be addressed. You realize most of the time that we are having this input, you realize, yes, that we know there's a bit of repeat of the same discussion, but when the debate is narrowed to a fewer minutes, then it gives members a platform to be able to just tackle the issues that have not been tackled. I want to agree with Senator Eddie, one of the good senators in the House, that at times the platform is used for lamentation. Kenyans did not give us this opportunity to lament. Kenyans gave this opportunity because we are the change makers. We are the ones to shape the generations to be. So in a nutshell, I support this motion and look forward that we'll not use it to lament. On the timeline that Dr. Boni had talked about, that the president should appear within the timeline that is in the month of April, then that should be so that we pride in upholding our constitution as leaders. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Onyonka.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It's a great pleasure to have an opportunity to contribute for such an insightful and indeed a good motion. Mr. Speaker, one of the things I would like to recommend and request my colleagues in this House is that anytime we have something that is good, whether it's brought by government or whether it's brought by our side, please let us listen to each other and let us try and look for a middle ground. In the West, they call it the bipartisanship, the ability for us to look at what is good between us as leaders, because we agree on those things that would benefit Kenyans most. If we find that there are things we can disagree on, Mr. Speaker, those ones we can then put onto the side and kind of move along, because sometimes democracy is back and forth. The other issue I would like to raise here, Mr. Speaker, is that I would like to encourage my colleagues here that democracy, this thing we call democracy, is not that the winner must take it all. Sometimes it's a give and take. And an idea like this, Mr. Speaker, if it is necessary for us initially maybe to start listening to the president when he makes his speech, his annual address to the nation, if it means we listen to him for 2 days, I don't think there's a problem with that. Neither would it worry many of us if we did it for 2 days. The other issue that I'm comfortable, I'm looking forward to as a senator in this House and as a leader, is that I would like, in order for us, Mr. Speaker, as members of the opposition, to be given an opportunity to reconstitute shadow cabinetry. In other words, you find the way the current government and system is set up, we need to have our side also having people who can take many of our cabinet members, many of the government cabinet members to task on issues, even when they come to this House to answer questions. I think it is also important that if we had a shadow cabinet, you would find that many of our members have the capacity to challenge or even to raise critical questions about our country and the issues which are coming out. Finally, Mr. Speaker, the point that I feel I need to emphasize. I have seen the